What's up guys, and welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about cardio and fat loss and whether or not you need to be doing cardio in order to achieve your goal of losing body fat. Now before we get started, I want to define different forms of cardio just so you are aware of the options you have should you choose to do it. You've got high intensity interval training, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of, where you're basically going all out for a 20 to 30 second period where intensity is 100%, obviously split up into rest intervals in between. So things like the assault bike, hill sprints, stair sprints, battle ropes, things like that, that's HIIT, okay? You've kind of got the step down from HIIT, which is almost like medium intensity interval training. So that's kind of like doing circuits or intervals where the intensity is still high, but it's not all out, okay? So you can basically keep going for longer than 30 seconds. A lot of people confuse the two, then they think that they're doing HIIT, but it's not really true HIIT, but it's still an effective form of cardio. And then you've also got low intensity steady state cardio, which is, let's say for example, just going outside walking on a treadmill, or you've got medium intensity steady state cardio, which is like going outside and jogging. So it's basically stepping up your heart rate for a prolonged period of time. Which one of those options is going to be best for you to do is dependent upon the individual, their goals, and most importantly, how much time they have available. Okay, so if you don't have much time to go out there and do cardio, then obviously the ones which are going to take a longer period of time to perform, it's not really going to be an option for you. So low intensity steady state cardio and even medium intensity steady state cardio, you might be better off doing HIIT training, something which is going to be over and done with in a relatively short period of time. You've also got to consider which one you're actually going to enjoy doing the most. Okay, so if you're the type of person that hates doing high intensity interval training and you just can't push yourself, then again, that's not going to be a realistic option. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to stick to it, you're going to be unsuccessful at being consistent. And again, you have to ask yourself, well, what your goals are. Okay, so if you are, let's say for example, trying to maintain or build as much muscle mass as possible, if you do lots of jogging in particular, it's going to be almost counterproductive to you trying to be as big as possible. So the most important goal we need to address is the goal of fat loss. Okay, that's the whole point of this video. So in order for us to lose body fat, what we really need to try and focus on is creating some sort of a deficit in terms of the calories burned and the calories consumed. Okay, so we want to try and create a gap, so you're in a negative energy balance. There's two ways of doing this. You can either try to increase the level of output you're doing on a weekly basis, or you can look to try and decrease the amount of calories which you're consuming on a weekly basis. Now the problem with reducing your calorie intake over a set period of time is that your body is always fighting you, okay? It wants to be in a state of homeostasis and it wants to protect you from dying. So if you eat less, your body will naturally react by reducing your metabolism and burning less calories. Another problem with this is that if you're consuming fewer and fewer calories on a weekly basis, you're going to lose a lot of muscle mass in the process of doing it, okay? So let's say for example me, if I was to drop my calorie intake down to 2,000 calories and I did that consistently for weeks, yes, I would be lean, but I'd lose a hell of a lot of size, which is not really something I want to do. Now the opposing problem, which is trying to increase your output on a week-to-week basis, is that eventually you'll get to the point where you really can't look to burn any more calories, okay? Let's say for example, you're just constantly active all day, training all day. You'll burn out, you're gonna feel horrendous, and it's just not gonna be sustainable or enjoyable. So should you be doing cardio? Let me give you a couple of scenarios to try and answer that question for you. So let's say for example, you are an individual and you're doing 4 to 5 resistance training sessions per week. If you are consuming anywhere between 3,000 and 4,000 calories on a day-to-day basis, then for you to do cardio, it's not really a necessity or a requirement, okay? You can just simply pull back your calories slightly and you should see reductions in body fat, assuming you're consistent with it, okay? So just a drop of 150 or 200 calories per day should allow you to lose a safe level of body fat. Obviously, eventually after however many weeks of doing this, your body will adapt to it and you will need to reduce your calories further in order to see the continued rate of fat loss. Okay, so for those people, you don't really need to do cardio. What about if you are the type of person who's consuming 2,000 to 2,500 calories per week and you're training, the same 4 to 5 resistance training sessions per week? In my opinion, I wouldn't want you to reduce your calories further because it's going to be harder for you to perform optimally during your training sessions. Recovery is going to be slower, and I'd never recommend anyone to be on 2,000 calories or less because you're just not going to be able to sustain a significant amount of muscle mass. So for those people, I would look to try and increase the level of activity you're doing. So let's look at some other individuals, okay? Let's take a group of people who are doing 2 to 3 resistance training sessions per week. if they're consuming anywhere between 3,000 and 4,000 calories, again, they don't necessarily need to do cardio, they can just look to reduce their calorie intake. What if that person was doing the same 2 to 3 sessions but was consuming 2,000, 2,500 calories? I would really try and advise them to just do more resistance training sessions, okay? They don't necessarily need to do cardio. If they look to just bump up their training sessions and now do 4 to 5 resistance training sessions, they're gonna be burning more calories on a week-to-week basis, and the fact that they're doing hypertrophy style training sessions is gonna be more beneficial for them because they'll burn calories and build muscle at the same time. You're also gonna need to consider your sleep and your cortisol levels, okay? So if you're getting a solid 7 to 8 hours sleep per night, it is going to allow you to actually lose more body fat and build more muscle at the same time. Also, cortisol levels, overall stress levels. If you're the type of person that's just massively stressed out, not sleeping much, work is horrendous, families getting to your relationships, everything like that, then if you have elevated cortisol levels, the amount of fat loss which is going to occur is going to be much less. Okay, so you need to try and look at these external factors outside of the gyms and see if you can change these to help with your goal of losing body fat. Now, I'm going to take you through my experience of doing cardio over the past 10 years of training and tell you how it's affected my body composition. There was one point when I owned my own gym, right, and we had loads of cardio equipment, and I had a training partner who loved to do cardio. We used to push each other. We were doing HIIT 2 to 3 times per week. One session would be sprints, one session would be battle ropes, and another one would be the sled and the prowler. Now, these were really intense, and I found that my fitness and conditioning was through the roof. So I noticed that my recovery in between doing sets, hypertrophy sets in my training session was much higher. So I could do some heavy squats for 10 reps and find that it would only take me like 60 seconds to recover and I could go again. But the downside to this was I was massively overtrained. I noticed that when I went to the gym to actually lift weights, I couldn't get a pump. I felt horrendous, I wasn't interested in doing it, and I almost made myself ill. So the problem with high intensity interval training is it's very taxing, very demanding on your central nervous system. And because of the duration at which you're doing it, the overall calorie burn isn't that high. And I really do believe, from what I've read and studied, the amount of calories you burn after doing high intensity interval training isn't actually as high as a lot of people think. Okay, I think it really is quite almost counterproductive to you building muscle, especially if you're the type of person who does hypertrophy training sessions, 4, 5 or even 6 times per week. So one of the biggest game changers for me has been the fact that I've now moved into central London. Okay, so I've got rid of my car, don't need it anymore, and I'm now walking to the gym and back. A walk to the gym is around 20 minutes for me. The walking back is 20 minutes as well. It's very hard to know exactly how many calories I'm burning when I'm doing this walk. So let's just say I'm burning around 200 calories. If I'm doing this walk 5, 6 times a week, then I'm going to be burning comfortably over 1,000 calories more than I was doing prior to moving here. Okay, so that's a big difference. There was another point in my training career where I was competing. I competed twice. And this was a period of time where I did implement quite a bit of cardio. Okay, for me to get down to the ridiculously low levels of body fat, the lowest levels of body fat which I've ever been at, I had to do a little bit of cardio, well, eventually quite a bit of cardio to get to that level. Okay, so I basically dropped my calories down to between 2,000 and 2,500. I didn't feel great. There was no way I could do any HIIT because I didn't have the energy. So I was doing low intensity, steady state cardio almost on a daily basis. So walking on the treadmill between 40, 50, sometimes 60 minutes, heart rate around 130 beats per minute on an incline. And that really did help me to shed that last stubborn bit of body fat, but it wasn't sustainable. So in conclusion, do you need to do cardio? Well, it really depends. I hate that that's the answer, but it really does depend on the individual, what their goals are and what their lifestyle's like, how much time do they have available to do it and what do they enjoy. Okay, I do really believe that cardio should be used as a last minute tool in order for you to lose body fat once all external factors have been optimized, such as food, sleep, quality of nutrition and so on. But generally speaking, I would say that the best form of cardio you can be doing is just to be more active. I know this is going to be tough for people who work in quite sedentary jobs, but if you just find a way of walking more, getting more steps in, it is going to make quite a big difference. I really do believe that you shouldn't be in a state where you're doing cardio every single day in order to just maintain your current level. Okay, a lot of these things should be cyclical. I do find that I do bring my cardio up a little bit more if I'm trying to focus on cutting, and if I'm bulking, or if you're the type of person who's struggling to put size on, you want to try and minimize the amount of calories which you're expending per week. So the hard gainers try to look at almost doing no cardio and keeping more to a sedentary style of living. So hopefully that's answered a few questions for you and cleared things up for you. All my training programs are on my website, www.mikethurston.co.uk. All of the programs do come with optional cardio routines to perform, from lifts, HIIT, interval training and so on, but I'll leave that up to you whether or not it's something you need to be doing or whether or not you have time to be doing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.